It is the prolonged absence of honest elections that led inexorably to the mass poverty and gross underdevelopment we have in the country today. Because if the people had been exercising the power of honest vote since 1960, when we had independence till date, Nigeria in 2025 would have developed into a first world nation by all standards and in all ramifications. We would have been like Europe. The problem we have is that since independence, almost 90 to 95% of the elections have been outright stolen or rigged or perverted or thwarted or nullified. And that means that Nigerians have never really voluntarily chosen their leaders. Neither have Nigerians ever been governed with their consent. Absence of honest elections makes our democracy a fake democracy, period. In Nigeria, the simple and painful reason why elections have been rigged all the time is that those people who have been vested with the power of appointing the electoral officers have by themselves been contestants, either by themselves or their political parties or their preferred candidates. They have been contestants in the same elections in which they appointed those who are conducting the elections. And so permit me to inform you that although it is very, very important to make bimodal voter accreditation system and electronic transmission of results by 𝐼REV all legally mandatory in the conduct of our elections in Nigeria. But I'm sorry to disappoint you that BVAS and 𝐼REV cannot solve the problem of electoral rigging in Nigeria without the neutrality and impartiality of the electoral bodies. Because those systems are vulnerable to manipulation. All those who direct, plan, superintend election rigging in Nigeria are the top leadership of the electoral bodies, who working with the politicians, work aggressively to skew the elections in favor of the persons and the political parties under whose auspices they were appointed, and who stuck in their visceral determination and unshakable resolve to steal elections in favor of their masters, will bring to bear on their quest this particular information I just gave, that these systems, the 𝐼REV, BVAS, are susceptible to manipulation, and that they can even manufacture logistical problems, infrastructural and logistical problems, particularly internet connectivity and power supply disruptions, and then turn around and take benefit of those failures. That they can manipulate the back-end data. They can do that. And that they can engineer system dysfunction and malfunction and exploit the resulting glitches. Or that they can even decide not to transmit the elections, whatever you say in the law, because it's always a do or die game for them. They can decide not to transmit the result electronically or delay it until it is useless. All the point we're making is that BVAS and 𝐼REV cannot help much with election integrity without the integrity of the electoral bodies. And you and I know that the existing electoral bodies today in Nigeria, at the federal, at the state levels, they are not working for honest elections. They are rigging elections in collusion with us politicians for the benefit of those who appointed them. And therefore, the only way to ensure impartial, neutral, honest, transparent, free and fair conduct of elections in Nigeria is to devise a means by which the electoral personnel, these electoral bodies and personnel, by which they are appointed independently of us politicians, especially the president and the governors. I'll say it again, that we must find a way to make sure that the president and the governors do not influence or direct the appointment of electoral officers. And so, in order to usher in the era of honest, transparent, free and fair elections nationwide under one independent, neutral, and unbiased electoral body, being inescapably the necessary and the only means we can lift Nigeria and our people, our brothers and sisters, out of poverty, and the only means with which we can reach the potentialities of God's endowment upon us, including taking our pride of place in the league of great and egalitarian nations, I do move a motion for constitutional amendment to provide for the establishment of a new, truly and literally independent National Electoral Commission charged with the conduct of all elections and for all elected offices. And that the new INEC be composed and constituted by 13 commissioners. 6 of the commissioners will be elected by the underlisted 6 Nigerian labor and professional organizations, and 6 commissioners will be nominated by the United Nations from across the world, and 1 commissioner observer will be nominated by Transparency International. That, I propose, will be our new INEC, for the first time appointed without the influence of us politicians. Of course, the new INEC will have the power to hire, to elect, and to remove their chairman, and to hire and fire all staff, including the chief executive officer. The election of 6 commissioners by the underlisted 6 Nigerian labor and professional organizations is arranged on a concurrent, corresponding alphabetical order. That is to say that the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Polytechnics will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the Northeast Geopolitical Zone. And the Academic Staff Union of Universities will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the North Central Geopolitical Zone. That the Institute of Chartered Accountants will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the Northwest Geopolitical Zone. That the Nigeria Bar Association will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the Southeast Geopolitical Zone. That the Nigerian Medical Association will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the Southwest Geopolitical Zone. That the Nigerian Union of Journalists will elect 1 commissioner out of its members from the South-South Geopolitical Zone. Politicians and those who have held political offices will not be qualified to be elected to serve in the new INEC. And the United Nations and Transparency International will not nominate a Nigerian or any person indigenous to Nigeria. Their own nominations will come from their staff. And it will be the responsibility of the president at the appropriate time to receive and collect the names and curriculum vitae of the nominees and nominees-elect for transmission to the National Assembly for confirmation. No commissioner-elect or nominated may be rejected except with the concurrent resolutions of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Representatives, by resolutions supported by at least 2/3 majorities of the Senate, all senators, and 2/3 majorities of all honorable members of House of Representatives, and all voting in person in a secret ballot televised in real time. And for the purposes of this exercise, voice votes will not be lawful. I must hasten to add that the establishment of the new INEC will not impede or be a setback to the strides made in the devolution of powers to the state government, because in this instance, power has been taken from the governor regarding appointments of electoral bodies in the state, and from the president regarding electoral bodies covering other elections, and vested in a neutral body in order to trigger processes in motion for lifting Nigeria out of poverty. Let me clarify immediately that nominations by the United Nations and Transparency International will not in any way violate our sovereignty, because it is Nigeria as the sovereign nation that will make that request to the United Nations. It's Nigeria as a sovereign nation will make that request to the Transparency International. And United Nations and Transparency International would gladly accede to our request, because like all other development institutions and people of goodwill around the world, they rightly regard the stealing of elections and rigging of elections as the worst and most destructive corrupt practice. And the United Nations has been undertaking anti-corruption programs and agencies in various countries with which it reaches agreement, like El Salvador, like Guatemala. And just the other day, the president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, dispatched a letter to the United Nations pleading with the United Nations to come to the country to establish, man and run an international commission against corruption and impunity. And they've already signed the agreement. They are now in the implementation phase. So they'll gladly make these nominations And they have a vast pool of bureaucrats, of public servants, of anti-corruption experts that they can choose from all over the world, including Africa, in Middle East, in Asia, in the Americas, the Greater Europe, Caribbean nations. They can choose from anywhere because they would love to be part of this liberating effort of Nigeria to emancipate the people out of poverty. I've taken the liberty of preparing the draft bill for the amendment of the Constitution to provide for the establishment of the new INEC. And I'll be making that public, after which it will be submitted to the National Assembly for consideration. So in conclusion, I will urge all of us to remember always that a supermajority of our people, our brothers and sisters, have for far too long been hijacked, kidnapped, and they're buffeted with hunger, disease, illiteracy, squalor and slum dwelling, unemployment and insecurity, all because of misgovernance, principally made possible by stolen elections and rigging of elections and governing without the consent of the people. And so I will ask that all of us should stand up, or everybody in the country should stand up, so we join our hands with our sweat in shooting down these maladies with the strongest arrow in our archery and with that golden bullet of ours, namely honest elections. And thereon shall we march triumphantly into the outstretched hands of prosperity and prosperity. God bless Nigeria. Thank you. Thank you.